The mission to diversify Delta State's economy to a mainly agro-based economy in order to promote community development and productive self-employment grows stronger each day. Today on Delta Beyond Oil, we take a look at how the government plans to turn the demand for its own natural resource to its advantage. I'm Onyi Sunday. Welcome to Delta Beyond Oil. As one of the oil-producing states in Nigeria, Delta State, like the Nigerian economy, has in the past been dependent on oil as a major revenue source, bringing with it both gains and woes. Over the years, the state witnessed a drop in funds from the federal government owing to a decline in oil production from 500,000 barrels per day to over 150,000 barrels per day. Admitting that a sole reliance on oil would be counterproductive to the state's economy, Governor Emmanuel Uduaghan mapped out a strategy of developing the real sector with proceeds from the oil sector.
Our strategy is simple. It's to use the money we get from oil, which might not be enough at the end of the day, but the little we get from oil, let us use it to develop infrastructure that will support other sectors of the economy. Okay. So basically, that is a summary of the strategy. Now, in terms of further details, what are these things we're trying to develop? We're trying to develop power, to have an increased power. We're trying to develop the transport sector, the major routes, airports, supporting the federal government for in developing the seaports, and of course, the railway. We're trying to develop ICT. We're trying to develop industrial parks. All these are things that attract investors.
One of such ways to achieve a diverse economy, the government says, will be to fall back on the state's non-oil natural resource to attain this development. Made up of 60% land and 40% water, it is no surprise the state has decided to pursue its agenda to diversify through agriculture, with a keen focus on aquaculture.
People eat fish. Even for healthy feeding, living, fish as against red meat is preferred today. So there's a market for that. And people live off fishing. If we have 40% water, people live off fishing. There are people who live off, who are naturally born into the water, born in the water, and must live off water. So that is very key. The neighboring market, Delta State is a gateway, Asaba and Padana is a gateway to the southeast. The market here is massive. There's a supply gap of fish into this country. There's a supply gap of industrial starch into this country. There's a supply gap of flour. And that's why we're talking about wheat is imported into this country. And that's why we're saying that if you provide an alternative or a substitute locally, then especially with the regulation that exists today, then you have a massive market running. So they all have huge markets, including to export to neighboring countries. But we're not there yet. We want to be able to provide enough to reduce the enormous foreign exchange that will expand as a nation, importing these things to meet the local supplies. So a market exists.
This farm, known as the Uwie Fish Farm in the town of Warri, hosts over 6,000 fish ponds replicated in several fish farms across Delta State. Carved out from earth and filled with water that flows from a nearby river into the ponds, the farmers here believe these cultivated fish are no different from the ones caught at sea. With a capacity to supply an estimate of 2 million tons of fish annually, the government believes this prevailing level of homemade technology allows for fish production of just 0.511 tons. However, the projected fish demand in and around the state is about 1.7 million tons. The reason behind this shortfall isn't far-fetched.
If you can see what the man just demonstrated here, he used local feed that is made up of blood meal and soya and all that. And once you throw it inside the water, it sinks. That itself generates a lot of waste. It gives us some problem. Problem like if you feed, after some time, the water gets polluted. So you have to use additional costs. You got to cost the farmer additional money to evacuate the water again for fresh water to come in. But the mechanized feed, it floats. So when you are feeding, You do not waste your feed. You see the fishes, they come and pick. When they are satisfied, you know that they are satisfied.
Fish meal is not available. Then it's too costly for us to use. Then we don't get the original. Then we have to go for the one we can see, that is this fish dust. Then we can get GNC, we get soya. Then corn, we can get it.
What we're doing is pelletized. Pelletized in terms of floating feed. And then you're doing that from 0.3 to about 0.8 millimeter. That range to take care of several ranges of segments of the fish, from near infant to mature to table fish, like they always say.
The format for the 4 feed mills that is to be set up in the state, the whole process started from the farmers. The fish farmers themselves come themselves into various cooperatives. They are the ones that actually have the stake, and the reason for the setting up by government is because of the cost of feeds. Therefore, if the government can set it up in a public-private partnership, and the farmers themselves have interest in it, the state government have a little interest, in fact, a facilitator, and then core investors have an interest in it. At the end of the day, whatever is produced, yes, they'll benefit. The farmers will benefit in the area of they have cheaper feeds to buy, qualitative feeds to buy, and they also make profit from the sales of these feeds, production and sales of the feeds.
Local fish feed mills like this is one of several mills the government hopes to turn around in order to meet the demands of fish farmers, and also to help establish sophisticated fish meal factories that would help them incorporate the right nutritional values in the feed meals they process.
Following its 3-point agenda focusing on infrastructure development, human capital development, and most importantly, peace and security, the state government plans to use another major resource in the state to bring about this revolution: the youth. The government set out to achieve this by setting up the Youth Empowerment through Agriculture and Farmers Support Program, YETA FSP. With this, the state says it has found a homegrown solution to the issues facing food security by assisting in progressing the readiness of farmers in the state. Above all, the government believes it's also found a lasting solution to youth restlessness, a problem that has concerned the state in the past.
Agriculture has been abandoned in this country, and not just the youths. Generally, it is a gradual thing. It's only those doing the agriculture right now are those that know that that's their source of livelihood, the old ones and all that. And we need to train the youth. That's why I told you we trained 950 youth. And I'm working with the consultant now. Governor has graciously approved a review of the program, and needs a great improvement of the program. I'm working with the consultant now. We'll soon come out with an improved, and the implementation will start. The youth these days want quick money, and because oil is all over, you may have some friends who are in the oil sector making big money, and you don't expect them to just be in the oil sector. So that's why you have to make this agri farming become a business. Until we take it to that level of a business, the youth will not be part of it. I think that's what we're trying to do. The establishment of these processing mills, for instance, for the fish, that means any youth can go into fish business. He knows he can now get feed cheap. And going forward, after that, we'll not think of the improvement of the seedlings, where we can get seedlings produced here. And that is why we have some hatchery development plan which we're working on. Right now, we are working on our aviary farm. I think that place is completed, and that is basically aquaculture. It is completed. That will also help in the education, and in production of seedlings for our farmers, and that will help them.
When issues of empowerment or training comes up from other MDAs saddled with this responsibility of job creation, we provide the youths, because we have a relationship with them, we know where they reside, we know the unemployed ones. So we provide that manpower and we present to them for training in whatever programs they have. And for the ones we have trained,
we present them to the Ministry of Poverty Alleviation for empowerment and startup parks and setting up of the various cottage industries and all that in whichever location they are domiciled.
In a bid to take advantage of the opportunities the state offers in agriculture, the state government has established new communal farms in several local government areas. Cultivation is one thing. What they do with their produce is another, raising the challenge of processing and packaging for marketing. Roselyn Ayokere is the sole manufacturer of Akanon plantain flour in Delta State. She's been running her business for years and is a certified exporter. The government recognizes her business as a viable one, thriving off the abundance of the crop in the state.
I attended the program at Abuja on all this productivity and so on. So I decided to concentrate on processing of plantain into flour. It was in a little way, very little way. So as God will have it, I improved on it to an extent. Not until 2009, when I met with Dr. Mrs. Ashidu, the then special advisor to Governor on Microcredit Program. So she invited me to her office. Madam, your product is still like this. Please, we need to register this product. So it was then she now brought in the interest of the governor that this product has to be registered. Thank God, governor listened to her, and with a little effort, the product was registered and we have come to this level.
It is surprising to know that her business of processing and packaging of plantain flour has grown over the years using just this single machine. The government plans to grow her business beyond this by creating several clusters of plantain plantations with mechanized processing mills, helping to expand the market and meet the growing demand.
In view of that, Delta State saw BOI as the best partnership in terms of stimulating other activities beyond oil. And it has to do with manufacturing activities. So we're engaged in financing all forms of industrial activities, value addition. So in view of that, Delta State saw BOI as the best partnership in terms of stimulating other activities beyond oil. And it has to do with manufacturing activities. So they, in fact, it was even the bank that approached them in the first place for a partnership. But recently, they bought over the idea and then key us into another program of the bank, program of the state, that is Delta Beyond Oil. Under this, there are a lot of activities in place that we have put in place, we are doing, and we are also doing more in that direction. That is to do with establishment of small, medium enterprises in the state, which we had even before then, but we are doing more this time around. Any person, any citizen, any Nigerian living within this location, engage in industrial activities. That is to say, engage in value addition. Anything that involves conversion, adding some value to whatever item of marketing, you know. So we come in. It could be processing of cassava, processing of even fish processing, you know. Is it poultry processing? That is the secondary level, not the primary farming. We don't engage in farming, but any value addition from the output of the farm, we will come in. But I know that there are more industries in Delta than a number of them in the South. However, there is room for improvement. And our approach is that we support an enterprise, right from small to big. Sometimes we even finance cooperatives. We finance cooperative, our motive is to see that cooperative transform to a limited liability one day.
The state government is also partnering with the federal government to establish processing plants in Delta State, especially for cassava, a crop widely cultivated in the state, which is also a major source of a staple food known as gari in Delta and Nigeria at large. Its flour is also now being used as a major ingredient in bread making.
A processing plant like this takes in over 50 tons of raw cassava tubers and also employs over 50 youths from its immediate community who take care of the loading, working of the machines, and the bagging of already finished products, which comes out as cassava flour or industrial starch. Now, the state government plans to build 6 more of these around the state and has also entered into a public-private partnership with the communities to help rebuild and revive already existing processing plants.
If you do 12 tons of starch a day, which is 12 hours, because it's 1 hour per, you need about 8 pickups. 8 pickups of cassava. Which means it's about 1.5, a pickup is about 1.5 tons. If you have 8 pickups and you work for 20 days in a month, you require 160 pickups of cassava tubers to supply that singular plant. If you do that in a year, that's 1,920 for one. If you look at 6, you're looking at about 12,000 pickups of cassava in a year. What does this present to you? Beyond transforming and creating a huge market for the cassava, you agree with me that that same location, no one town can supply the size of cassava tubers. So what we do need is to encourage the cassava outgrowers and create more clusters. By so doing, we are looking at expanding, creating job opportunities for the people.
Now, to be able to make things easier for the farmers in this farming activities, especially for cassava and fishing, we are establishing small, medium-scale industries. Why are we doing that? We're one of the biggest cassava producing states in Nigeria. Also involving the farmers as owners of these cassava plants. Because you see, what happens in cassava farming is that in a particular year there might be increased farming, but because a lot of the products are not taken up either by industries or by those who consume cassava products, the prices fall. And when the prices fall like that, the farmers are discouraged the next year. So what we are trying to do is to ensure that the prices are reasonable enough to encourage the farmers to go into farming the next year. So that's why we are establishing those cassava processing plants, in which, like I said, they are owners of it, or they are part owners, and the products will package, will process, package, and sell to industries like pharmaceuticals that make use of starch or cassava flour. So those are some of the things we are doing to ensure that we improve on our agriculture. And we believe that with this process, the farmers will be encouraged. A lot more persons will come into agriculture, especially our youths that we are training periodically. You know, we put them together, train them under a program we call the Youth Empowerment Through Agriculture Program. We train them, set them up either in clusters or single farms. So these are the kind of things that we're doing in agriculture.
The drive to diversify the economy goes beyond agriculture. Well, after the break, we will be taking a look at other sectors through which the government wants to create employment. Do stay with us.